Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? Kevin here coming back at ya. Just going through, got all my bikes out, took some new cover photos for the channel, and I figured I'd say hi, see what's going on with you guys, and yeah, just show you guys about what I got. I got the little red guy out, the Kawasaki KD80, the KV75, the KM100, and the KE100. And these two bikes right here are my daily drivers. In fact, you can see by the mileage on them. This one's 2,022 miles, and this one's a close second with 2,099 miles. So I ride the hell out of these bikes. I changed a couple of things on them. One of the things I changed was the rear sprocket. I put a bigger sprocket on it. So the average speed on this bike is about 45 to 50, kind of like almost at the 50 mark at top speed. Same thing with the, what do you call it there, the KM100. Now what I do with the KM100 is I'm using the rear sprocket and front sprocket from a KE100, which basically with the tire diameter is the equivalent of that bigger sprocket. So they do about the same speed. The reason why I did this is because I can get out into traffic a whole lot quicker. I've got better response, better throttle response, better takeoff. See, this has a 37 tooth sprocket. This is what the KM is supposed to have. So this KD80 would go faster than the KM on top speed. However, at top speed, this engine will be absolutely screaming, where this one right here is right in the power band, and I'm right where it should be. So, and I have plenty of power. So really, you could change what you want the bike to do simply by the gearing. You might notice on this one right here, I have a KV75 tank cap, because I don't want to run the hose over. So this one shares the same style cap as my KV75. That's not factory. That's supposed to have one of these caps on it, but I didn't want to put one of those on it. I wanted the vent tap, tap right on it, so I changed it over to that. So that's a couple of different little things. This one has a shorter stroke and smaller piston than the KM100. So basically the piston that's in this is the same thing as the 90cc with a shorter stroke. If you want to make this a 90cc, all you gotta do is change the crank from a KM100 into a KD80, and you have a KD90. So that's how you can do that. Now that's a one-off bike. Now every single bike you see here in front of you, the green one, the yellow one, which this one is a 92, but I put 94 tank in greens on it. This one is a 79. This one right here, I believe, is an 87. And that one right there is a 1980 with a 1975 tank on it. So I got that tank by accident. So I'm cool with it. So anyway, all these bikes are CDI. There's not a single ignition point in either one of these bikes. Each one of these bikes has been converted over to CDI ignition. And I'll tell you, I don't ever have to worry about spark. I have it every single time. Every single time. And they idle lower. They've got more takeoff, smoother acceleration. There's a whole bunch of benefits to having a CDI ignition. Even the little guy right here, I converted over to CDI ignition. So I know a lot of you guys ask, Kevin, where'd you get these parts from? I buy junk bikes. I take the bikes and I strip the parts out of them. So I have gotten a bunch of 96 bikes that were junk, desecrated. I took the ignition systems out of them, and I modified it to fit this bike, that bike, that bike, and that bike. And that's how I do them. So I have CDI ignitions for all these bikes that are in it, and that's why they're so reliable. Now, the other bike like this one, so I have two of these bikes, okay, which I got by accident. A gentleman stopped me on my way to my friend Harvey Spooner's house, and I was cutting through Connecticut, and the guy says to me, he says, Kevin, he says, you got my bike. I had this bike well, not this bike, but a bike frame with that tank on it. He says, that's my bike. I says, no, I just bought this up the street. He says, I got the same exact bike. So I ended up getting it. He gave it to me for $40. I couldn't believe it. That's all I had on me. I said, I can only give you 40 bucks, no motor. So this is the other bike. The tank is mint on the inside, so I'm a little shaky. It's cold out here, guys. I got the tank and everything else, and I said, shoot, that's a nice looking bike. Even the rims are better than mine. Had the headlight assembly. Has the tail light assembly. All the wiring, parts and pieces are in it. It needs a cable, and that's pretty much it to finish off the bike. And I have no engine for it. So I was going to put the bike motor I got from Harvey Spooner on here, if you guys remember that video. The MB5 or MB50 motor, which was a 5-speed. But then I thought, shoot, I could build this bike right here for my son. So the engine that we're going to put on it is this guy right here. This motor right here is for a KDX 50. It's a 2-stroke oil injection. What do you call it there? Automatic. So this is going to fit in that bike perfectly. So I had to do some modifications. If you guys been watching that series, you'll see the modifications. I did a whole brand new top end, brand new carburetor, brand new air filter assembly. I put the charge coil in this because it doesn't come with one. I had to drill and tap, make a whatchamacallit there, the charge coils to run the lights. Had to bore out the top hole for the bolt to go through. I had to splice the proper connector onto it and wire the bike in for the charge coil to work on that particular bike. So this engine is going to sit on that frame, and it's a fully automatic 50cc, guys. 50. This is a 50. So I'm actually making a KV50. So this bike right here is going to be my son's first bike. So, and we're going to put the train wheels on it and do it right up for him. And we're going to have father-son matching bikes. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm going to keep the factory exhaust, modify it to fit the new motor. And I'm going to do this all without modifying the frame. Because someday when I find the proper engine, I want to be able to bolt it onto it without destroying the frame. The frame is mint. I don't want to mess with it. I just want to fix it properly. So we're going to use spacers on the top hole, bracket on the bottom, using the existing holes to hang the engine on, and that's how we're going to do it. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be his first bike, a 50. So I might use a heat gun, save that decal there, and put a 50 on it. I think it'd be really, really cool. This bike is a 1974 MT1. So mine is an actual KV75. This bike right here is a KV75. And a couple things you could tell by is, if you look, it tells you right on the tank. First off, it's got a different style tank, and the air filter has the bracket, whereas the see this bracket right here, whereas the what do you call it there, the MT1 does not. This is the air filter for the MT1. So there's no bracket. The bracket will be in the front. There's no bracket. So this is a complete air filter for that bike right there. That's a spare now because we're not using it on the motor. But we have basically, when I get an engine, now I have an air filter for it. So, but yeah, I get all kinds of parts and pieces for these things. For the MT1s and the KV75s. So we're going to use what we got. Keep this bike as original as possible, with the exception of the engine. And that's the way I'm going to take that. So, back over here, we'll start talking about the KM and the KE. Both of these engines, this one's a 79, so from 78 to 79, had the aluminum cylinder heads, jugs, the cylinder, right here's aluminum. And from earlier than that, they were cast iron. Now the KD80M are cast iron. Those are all cast irons. And in fact, the 90s are cast iron too, and so this one's cast iron. Cast irons are just heavier. There's not really, you can modify these a little easier. You can send them out to be bored out. You can hone them where you can't with the aluminum. But the aluminum is better for heat, and it's better for what do you call it there? Heat dissipation, and they're lighter, so it makes the bike a little less heavy. Only by like 3 pounds, but when you add up all the weight that you could take off these things, it's worth it. So, a couple of things. You guys might notice the KM and the KD look exactly alike. That's because they pretty much are the same bike. There's a couple of different things on the frames in the back, the tailpipes. See this pipe right here? It's been welded on. That's how it's done in the factory. Whereas the KM is not. This whole tail light fixture right here slides into that hole and bolts up down here, where this one just has a bolt in it for no reason. So there's that. The other thing is too, I'm not gonna pull them apart, but I'll show you. Right here is my voltage regulator. Okay, on the KM, on the KD and KD 100 frames, there is no bracket for it. So those are a couple of differences. Another notable difference is the foot pegs are the off-road style foot pegs, whereas the other ones are not. So those are a couple of different notable differences between the two. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. Few differences throughout the years. Like the KD doesn't come with those reflectors. See those reflectors right there? Those came off of another KM that I had, so I threw them on there just because I had them, you know. But pretty much they're the same bike, same frame. 80 cc's on this one, 100 on that one. Technically it's 79 and 99, but the controls are all the same. I changed over this front fender. This is from an older bike. That front fender, I just didn't want all my bikes looking exactly the same. I thought it would look cool with the black and the red, so I kept it. This came off of an MT1, which was nice. It still has the number badge plate right here. Kind of hard to find, but they're out there. So I gotta do a few things to them. All the tanks on these bikes are pristine on the inside. We're gonna be restoring these over the winter, as well as doing the KE 102 build, and I got some really cool stuff for that. So these two right here are my daily drivers. Those right there are my fun toys, and then we'll be doing some more photo shoots with them. And I'm gonna be getting a off-road camera, because I tried the camera that I got and it didn't work. So for what I needed to do, because I had it mounted on here, I tried doing a video driving and it was awful. So we're gonna be doing some of that type of stuff, take you guys on some trails, and we're going to be doing some modifications to the KD80. I'm going to keep that one in 80. I was going to make it a 100, but then that means I'll have 3 100s. It just doesn't make sense. And the 80 has plenty of power, and if you ever rode one of these 80s, it'll do a wheelie, no problem. It's got some power to it. So I'm going to leave it in 80. I was going to change it over to a 100. No point in that. I already have a 100. So we're going to keep the 80 and 80. And we're going to show you guys how to modify that. And I got some really cool tech tip videos coming up that's going to be mind-blowing, to get a few extra horsepower out of them. So that's pretty much where we're at with that. So we got some stuff going on, you know what I mean? So just going to keep building them. So anyway, guys, I just figured I'd do a video, say hi, thank you for subscribing, show you guys a few different quirks with the bikes, and kind of directions. I'm going to show you guys how to take out dents without ruining the paint. Where's it? One of these bikes have a little dent. There's a little dent right here. Let's see if I can get the light on it. See it right there? There's a little dent right here. I'm going to show you guys how to remove those dents without killing the paint. And I have one on my, I have a crease on my KM. See, when you look at it like that, it looks perfect. But when you look at an angle, there is a dent right here. And that's how it was when I got it. And so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. We're going to be working on getting color match paint for these bikes. I'd like to get color numbers for all you guys, because I get a lot of questions. Kevin, where do you get, what color paint is that red? I can't match it. The yellow and the green. So we're going to get all those colors situated. We get a lot of stuff coming up over the winter. So just going to have to hang tight with me. I'm going through a lot of stuff right now with the family and all that. So that's why the videos are a little not so many. But they will be coming up relatively soon. So So anyway, I figured I'd do a video, show you guys what's going on. It's a little direction, and we're gonna keep going. And so yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.